What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the College Loop Podcast, episode 46 of the College Loop Podcast, the Jake Levant episode, if you
Hey,
will. And I don't know where y'all are watching this, really. It could either be, we have two episodes coming out today. So if you're watching this one, go watch that one. And if you're watching that one, well, I guess you already watched it. So you're here. So, you know, weird day's been going on. It's raining a lot. So I'm once again joined by Harrison Tarr. How you doing, buddy?
hey, man, I'm good. If you guys are wondering why we're giggly, this is College Loop After Dark. This is our second show we've recorded, and we're going to be grinding it out over the next 30 minutes or so. But hey, had a great day. It was always a pleasure to get to hang out with you. Like I said in the last episode, shout out to your girlfriend Lauren for hooking us up with these sweet College Loop shirts. If you guys want one, hit us with a DM. We can probably make that happen. And we're more than happy to let you guys hashtag rep the brand, hashtag welcome to the loop. And had a ton of fun on Saturday. Always a good time to be on the plains. Rain or shine, man. It's fun to talk ball. I know a lot of people complain about the weather, but hey, our job is we get to talk about football. We get to talk about basketball, and today we get to talk about some Auburn Diamond sports. So let's get this thing on the road and let's talk A-Day, my friend.
Yeah, A-Day happened. It was a tied ball game at the end of it,
Because
which
of course it was.
it just made the most sense. Tiger Walk happened. Uh, did you see Tiger Walk at all?
Tiger Walk got canceled, my man.
No, it didn't. No,
No way.
they pulled the buses to the front of Jordan Hare Stadium and had to exit the bus. So everyone who didn't want to leave got to see all their players. I got a nice little video of it. I'll put up. I'll
Listen,
put up really.
listen. I just want you to know that this is when I want that soundboard of Vince Wilfram going, "Well, War Damn." And this is with the great use for it, you know what I'm saying? And you maniacs that stood out in the rain, I know you're the ones listening. And yeah, no, Dylan, I got drenched on the sidelines. I'm not judging. You maniacs who were out there Tiger Walk in the rain, I want you guys to know, because I know a lot of you are listeners. I feel confident in saying that. You guys rock. I'm being so serious. I love that energy. We love that energy here, and don't ever change. And while you're here, like, subscribe, ring the bell. But that being said, you guys rock. And for those of you who showed up to A-Day, to see the team under Hugh Freeze's first administration and his first spring game, props, man. I mean, we had a lot of fun. It was cool. I think we learned more than we thought we were going to learn. And we're here to give out some superlatives. If you guys want our full breakdown, we did do an A-Day reaction video. That should be out on YouTube. Probably going to come out before this one. Might come out after this one. Definitely not going to not get published. So there will be hashtag content. That will not be a YouTube exclusive. If you're a streamer, you can also check that out on streaming platforms. All right, Dylan, let's talk. Let's start offensive superlatives. Let's go offensive MVP. Who is your Dylan Larck, Tank Talk Football's official offensive MVP from A-Day?
I'm gonna go with the offensive line.
Okay.
You kind of the whole group. Gunnar Britton, Connor Liu,
No, that's super fair. I think that's a great answer.
Avery Jones, Dylan Wade, Cameron Stutz. I even think deeper. Braden Joyner performed very well. Keep it going. Tate Johnson in his new role as a guard, I think did very well in adjusting to that, and he's been playing very well at that position all spring. Because when you play center and you bring in a freshman in Connor Liu and a transfer in Avery Jones, you just want to get back on the field. And I think Tate Johnson's done a very good job of getting adjusted to playing the guard position, and I think it suited him very well, especially the entire offensive line in general. Performed very well during A-Day.
I don't disagree. I think that's a great selection. I'm going to go with Robbie Ashford. For those of you that are sitting there wondering that there's a guy that we definitely left out that should definitely be in the conversation, bear with us. We're circling back. Don't worry. Trust the process. But I'm going to go with Robbie Ashford. I've been in the Gurner camp for the past couple of weeks, and I still think that kid's going to be something special, whether that's at Auburn or beyond. And I think you would agree. Even if that's not at Auburn, Holden Gurner has a bright future ahead of him, and that kid has taken leaps and bounds of strides. But today was about Robbie Ashford. This was about proving that this is his team, and that was kind of what the spring mantra was, and it will continue into the fall, barring the transfer portal. I thought Robbie played well today. People are going to talk to me. Well, Harrison, he only completed 1 for 3 and 39-yard pass to DeVarsh Dawson. Yeah, well, that was a dart in the rain, and I want people to not forget about that. He looked good in the pocket. His checkdowns looked better. He looked more poised. He looked more confident. And part of that's having a season of SEC football under your belt. I mean, it just inherently helps. But Robbie Ashford, he really showed out for me in terms of making the right choices on the RPO. When we talk about the RPO a lot in our previous episode on our breakdown, so make sure you guys go check that out about our thoughts on the offensive scheme. Which my quick editorialization of that is, I think it's much improved from whatever the hell was in the Harsin era. That being said, my final answer there is Robbie Ashford. So congratulations, Robbie. You are the College Loops Harrison Tarr's offensive MVP of A-Day. To the entire offensive line, you have the prestigious honor of Dylan Larck. Let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball, and I'll go first this time, and then you'll flip over. Elijah McAllister, man. I mean, wow. He didn't put up flashy numbers. He wasn't crazy in terms of like flashy stuff that fans are going to walk away and be like, oh my gosh, Elijah McAllister was so good in A-Day. Elijah McAllister was very good at A-Day. Elijah McAllister is going to be, I think, in my opinion, your starting jack, and what we've known previously as the edge rusher position and known around the world as edge rusher. But Jack sounds way cooler, so I'm rocking with that. Yeah, I know. I like Elijah McAllister a lot. I thought he played well. He was in the right place and put pressure in at the right times, especially when you're feasting against a guy like TJ Finley. You know, someone you got to eat up on those kind of opportunities. You have to. And I think he's going to be a very strong contributing member going forward. I was impressed by his IQ, his football IQ, really, and being in the right place, and knowing where to be, and not getting beat on that edge. So I'm going with Elijah McAllister. I think you're going a different direction, Dylan, and that's completely cool. That's what we're here for. What you got for me?
Yeah, you're watching 8A. The defense isn't going to put up flashy numbers at all. The only flashy number you really saw from the 8A stat sheet is the attendance.
Yeah, okay.
16,000 people were there.
By the way, that sounded really passive aggressive. It was raining like hell. I get it, guys. I understand.
I get it. Maybe 16,000 people bought tickets, but 16,000 people were not in that stadium.
Yeah.
As speaking for someone who is in the middle of in the upper deck, surrounded by people, but
under the overhang.
Yeah, my defensive MVP stays on the defensive line. Jeffrey Emba. He played with the twos.
Great pick.
I think he showed a lot of improvement, especially after he gave me a heart attack this offseason, thinking he was going to transfer, and then 10 minutes later he took his name out of the portal. And
he's done that a couple times.
It scared me, rightfully so, because he's a monster, and he showed that today. And you're kind of wondering, watching Jeffrey Emba play, you're like, this dude's on the twos?
Yeah, right.
Like, that should tell you how deep Auburn's defensive line is, and whether or not we're going to talk about the third string defensive line is a bit up in the air right now. But the 1 and 2 defensive line performed very well, and Jeffrey Emba is right up there with it. I think he showed a lot of aggression, a lot of strength getting to the quarterback. I mean, I think he had to get held at one point. That was one of 3 offensive fouls. Was the holding on Jeffrey Emba. We didn't talk about the fouls. We should talk about that in the other show, but if you want to talk about fouls, I will. It annoyed me a little bit because three fouls were on the offense.
Well, that's going to come with growing pains, in my opinion, and then that gets cleaned up in fall ball, and that falls on the coaching staff at that point. Then that's just disciplined football. I don't want to get too bent out of shape over a game that I'm probably about to get off this podcast and go rewatch, just because it's film breakdown time, right, man? And the good news is, even taking notes, they only played 3 quarters of football, and none of them were complete quarters, so it should be pretty quick film breakdown. But we got a good sample size. I mean, more than what we've seen in window media availability. So I mean, that was cool, and getting to see them go through walkthroughs was fun. Unanimous MVP for the College Loop for A-Day is going to be Sean Jackson. 13 attempts, 13 touches, 77 yards. Dude ran physically today, and I don't think that this is, like we mentioned on the other show, Dylan, it's not indicative of his role in the fall. We know that Damari Alston's, Jarquez Hunter and Damari, and then you throw in Jeremiah Cobb and Brian Battie. Those guys are going to be your featured running backs, and Sean Jackson may be more of a pass blocker. But man, he had a nice little game today, man. Like, he was fun.
Yeah, and sadly, he didn't get most of his carries and the yardage from playing against that third string defense, which, I mean, we talked about in the other show. That third string defense is rough to watch.
Yeah, it's tough.
It was very tough to watch. Even the DBs looked a little lost on that string of the defense, and we talk about how deep that room is. But yeah, Sean Jackson, I think once he got bumped up to the 2s and the 1s, I still think he showed a lot of strength in his running. And, you didn't get to see him pass block, sadly, because, at some point when it's raining that hard, the running back is going to be your wide receiver one in the
Yeah.
rain.
Yeah.
So, but I think he's a very strong runner. When I watch him play, especially when they're wearing 44, he looks a lot like Cameron Artis Payne. Uh,
That's a comparison.
yeah, I like doing comparisons on the show. That's what I do.
I respect it.
When I and I could also go with the Cameron Petway route, just some guy who isn't going to beat you with a speed, but is going to look at you and go, you know what, I can go through you, and that's what Sean Jackson did today. And he was a hard man to bring down, so hard to bring down that the only person who could bring him down behind the line of scrimmage was himself. So
That's, you know what? It happens sometimes.
yeah, especially when it's raining cats and dogs.
That's right. That's right. Unanimous College Loop A-Day MVP, Sean Jackson. So congratulations, dude. You get absolutely nothing but props. It was a ton of fun watching. He was fun to watch to me today, man. Like he was fun. Like sometimes we forget, we get bogged down in like, oh, like this guy's, he's electric on the edge, but he lacks in this and that and XYZ. We're looking at X's and O's. We forget that like football's just fun, and that's why we're like addicted to it. Like he was just fun today. So like let's not leave that out. And a cool, fun little stat line. So like I said, 77 yards on 13 touches. So Sean Jackson, big props to you. Let's pivot. We got some big news, Dylan. And actually, before I get into that big news, let's talk about Auburn timing. Talk about just Auburn being Auburn. Finding out that Wes Flanigan was leaving for Ole Miss and in the middle of the Frank Thomas statue unveiling was nothing short of Auburn poetry.
That's Auburn being Auburn at that point. I mean, we were there in Pearlville whenever the Derek Mason news got broken, and you can't really react to it because you're 8 hours deep in freezing cold weather.
Exactly.
All you smell is bo, and you're like, Derek Mason left for Oklahoma State. Okay. When can we get into the arena?
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
It was kind of like that. It's like, oh, Wes Flanigan left. Okay. Well, Frank Thomas has walked to the room.
Yeah.
I don't know how to react to this right now.
Which side note, and this wasn't on the script, and we're going to talk Auburn baseball independently here in a minute, Dylan. But man, what an awesome tribute to Frank Thomas, man. I mean, Auburn did that one right. And the tributes that you got from Hal Baird and from John Cohen. And I thought John Cohen's speech was fun. And I feel confident saying I'm the only guy here that played against Frank Thomas. That was fun. And Hal Baird with some off-color comments. That was some interesting quotes there. But
I hope that doesn't get released to the NCAA public anytime soon.
Yeah, no kidding. Unfortunately, there were so many new media outlets there. But what an awesome tribute and a fun opportunity. Huge shout out to George Nunnally and the Auburn baseball program for getting us hooked up and credentialed for that. Because man, I wouldn't have wanted to miss that. And I know it was open to the public, but it was a really cool opportunity for us. And I mean, Frank just a good guy. And his youngest son's got the sweetest mullet I've ever seen. So that's just want to throw that out there.
Future Auburn Tiger.
That's right. Future Auburn Tiger. Yes. Yeah. Frank III. That being said, that was fun. While this was going on, we find out that Wes Flanigan is headed to Ole Miss. And it was a bit of a emotional roller coaster for people throughout the day for Auburn basketball. You find out that Wes Flanigan's heading to Ole Miss, and then you find out Denver Jones has committed to Auburn officially, which we kind of have been hinting at on this show for like a week and a half now. And we've known for a while, but like we could not say. So the secret's out. Yes, we have known that Denver Jones was an Auburn Tiger for a hot minute. But yeah, that's going to be an awesome addition. I want to lead in with this on the general conversation. We'll start with Wes, then we'll transition over to Denver Jones, Dylan. Everything that happened to Auburn basketball today was good. And that was my whole key. And then I was going to tell you my lead in here. Every part of this, everything that I just said is good. I'm going to get clipped for that. People are going to come at me and say that I've got no appreciation for Wes Flanigan, whatever you want to say. Wes Flanigan has been an incredible contributor to the Auburn basketball program, dating back to his time playing at Auburn. I don't want anybody to lose sight of that. Wes Flanigan has been instrumental in returning Auburn on the national stage in basketball. I mean, Bruce Pearl has been the leader of that ship, but let's not forget, I mean, the recruiting work that Wes Flanigan did, namely on Isaac Okoro and Sharif Cooper and guys like that. It's been impressive. There does come a time where it's time, and it's time to shake up that staff. And this basketball program is going to be damn near unrecognizable in the fall, and that's good. That's good. Sometimes the grass is greener on the other side, and that's okay. And it starts with Wes Flanigan's departure. I'm not sure what that means for Allen. We've heard no word. I think he's gone regardless. I don't think it would have mattered if if Wes would have stayed on staff or not. That's another one of those things that you and I have kind of known for a while. And this is not just me spewing out BS. We really have had lots of conversations about Wes Flanigan leaving Auburn. He's not the last to leave that staff either. This is not over and done with. This is going to be a mad scramble. It's going to be fun to see him at Ole Miss. It is. It's going to be fun to see him under this under a new regime over at Ole Miss. That being said, Dylan, I think that this is for the best. You correct me if I'm wrong. Bring new faces in, and this opens up an opportunity for a certain former Auburn basketball player, should he want to join the staff and should Bruce want him, to come and return home on the Plains. Your thoughts?
I mean, it'd be huge. You replace Wes Flanigan with KT Harrell. I mean, the players would love it. The students would love it. The fans would love it.
The recruits would love it.
Recruits would love it. And we talked about it a lot going into the season. A lot of games were disappointing to watch. Like, we didn't expect a whole lot from this team. I don't want to say we expected, the Sweet 16s. We would have loved it if it happened. But we talked about it in, I believe, early February, where a few of the games, it just looked like Auburn just didn't have the coaching and we know what BP is capable of. And I think that it doesn't reflect well on the rest of the staff. And I think you do kind of need a shakeup. It's like in football, you could have a great head coach, but if your coordinator is not implementing any kind of good schemes, you got to let him go. And we've seen it happen at the best of the best. Bama does it year in and year out with their coordinator.
Let's remember, Wes didn't get fired.
He didn't get fired. He left. Which, and sometimes nicer way of doing it is like, hey, can you take the other job? We see Nick Saban does all the time. He did with Bill O'Brien this past offseason. It's like, hey, we want to bring in some new faces. If you get a job offer, take it. Why not? But yeah, I think it's a good move, especially bringing KT Harrell to replace him. But I mean, I think it just benefits the new look for Auburn. New guard play is coming in, and with Denver Jones,
what you did there.
Yeah, you bring in a tall guard. Tall guard, tall guard, tall guard. It's a thing. 6'4", averaged 20.1 points last year. New look for Auburn. Auburn hasn't had a guard this tall since. Yeah.
All right, Dylan. All right. So it's the off season, and we're talking Auburn basketball. So that means only one thing. Yeah. I'm sunshine pumping with zero consequences. there are zero repercussions. Dylan has, for those of you not watching the YouTube version, Dylan has exited the screen. He mentioned Denver Jones, FIU transfer, 6'4". A year ago, 20.1 points per game, 3.8 rebounds per game, 2.0 assists per game, and shooting 47.8% from the field, shooting 37.1% from three. Okay, guys. In the past week, we've now seen Wendell Green Jr. leave. We know why. We knew why then. Let's be honest. Aiden Holloway's here. Trey Donaldson and Denver Jones are going to be in this backcourt. Guys, folks, this is exciting. This is good news. And Bruce is so far from done in the transfer portal. A lot of people are talking about how this is going to be a 2-year rebuild, and this 2024 class is nuts, and that 2024 class is not done. Just putting that out there. Yeah, scary good.
Peyton Marshall.
Guys, if this team can shoot and play defense the way that they did last year, you're opening up another scholarship spot. Stretch Akimbola leaving confirmed. We've learned that. He said that publicly this past week. We had heard for a minute that maybe he was going to stay and keep using that scholarship spot. That one's open, and you'd have to donate one to the NCAA for the last time this year. So we're moving forward on that front, and that's good. You're out of the woods and going into that 24 class, which is so money I can't even begin to explain. I'm going to go and tell you right now that 2024, 2025 team is going to make a run. I think this 23-24 team is going to be built so much better
and more well-rounded, Dylan. And then that's the way the roster construction is shaking out right now. I mean, that's just calling a spade a spade. We don't know what Jalen Williams is going to do. We've not heard word on that. Sounds like Lior Berman's coming back. A little extra year action for the Berminator. And there's your kind of 3-and-D kind of guy if you can work in that defensive capacity. Trey Donaldson, man, I'm really interested to see his offseason development. That kid can play ball. That he's just a gamer. And we learned that in March. He's a gamer. You pair him with Denver Jones, man, this team is. I'm not trying to get people overhyped, but yeah, let's barn, let's boog for a second here, and let's do the damn thing because it's exciting. I mean, this is a good thing for Auburn basketball. I mean, obviously, whenever you pick up a highly sought after transfer that also had who trolled Alabama, by the way, which is absolutely hilarious. People aren't talking enough about the fact that Alabama made his top 6 and he was already pretty much committed to Auburn. That's really, really funny. Already a great culture fit. Also, I can't wait to see like deep fried like cities of Denver after Auburn beats people because that's going to be beautiful. We're definitely 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt starting a Auburn basketball meme series here where I'm just going to throw them up in screen share on the broadcast on the shows this fall because oh my god, you guys are geniuses. That being said,
bringing a Denver Jones, we have a Denver Bryant.
Dude, the Denver, like honestly, like visit Denver should sponsor Auburn athletics. Hear me out.
We've said this. Auburn is like the capital of Denver.
That's so facts. You're just not. You're
no
simply
other
correct.
No other. Auburn is the Denver capital of the world, if you will.
You are simply just correct, sir.
I will have another point about Denver Jones. If you had told me that going into next football season, next basketball season, that my hype towards the season and the performance of both offenses would be based on a transfer from Florida International University, I would have not believed you. We get Revolver and Denver Jones in the same off-season ish between the seasons, if you will.
So, in other words, what you're saying is you're now partially an FIU fan.
Yes, I will be buying a hat very soon and recruiting all of their good players to. Hey, Rivaldo Fairweather, Denver Jones are coming over here. Why don't you know?
Listen, I'm not to sound like a Barner here, but I just think you are in the right school of thought right now. I think that you're in the right school of thought. You were talking about Denver's and Denver's. Let's talk about the other Denver for a second. Let's talk about Auburn softball, and keep moving forward as we continue to talk Auburn athletics right here on the College Loop. Before we keep moving forward, I do want to before we move away from men's basketball, I do want to send a big shout out to Brendan McLaughlin, winner of the NCAA bracket challenge right here on the College Loop. We're gonna hit you up this week. I've got your number, so we're good. Like I can find you. Hopefully, you respond in a timely manner. I know how Brendan McLaughlin functions. Great guy. Dude is incredibly good at being late at things. But we will hook you up with one of those sweet Auburn hats. You informed us that you were in New Jersey and could not use the tickets, so we're bummed out about that. But congratulations, all of you guys that competed. We had a lot of good brackets, like in a crazy year. We had good brackets. So thank you guys so much for competing in that. We will definitely have some more challenges coming up here on the College Loop soon. Working on a couple of concepts that we will see how that works out through the season. Might dip into a little bit of pros and do some Auburn alumni picks and see what that shapes out like, to kind of come up with our little fantasy system, which would be super fun if you guys are down. So something that I've kind of been working on in my head canon. And before we move over to Auburn softball, if you're listening on the YouTube version, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Comment below your favorite Auburn basketball transfer target. Want to hear it? Absolutely want to talk about transfer targets this week, and also your MVP of A-Day. So let's move forward. Let's talk Auburn softball, who fell to Florida in terms of dropping the series 2-1, but finished strong on Saturday. Dylan, you got to watch a Bree Bomb live in Jordan-Hare Stadium, which might be the most barn statement I've said all day. And Bree was loving it on Twitter, and the Ellis family, always friends of the program, and always a trip. But they were having a fun weekend. So talk to me a little bit about Auburn softball and their triumphant bounce back win at the end of this series.
Yeah, it was a good win on Sunday. It's always good to have a shutout, but it's probably better to win the series. But Florida's a good team. And they're the 18th ranked team in the country for no reason. Auburn's 23. There's a reason why all the outlets are voting them over Auburn. It showed, but honestly, it looks like Auburn and Florida are pretty much on the same level, on the same wavelength. I mean, Thursday the game was 3-2 in Florida's favor, and then day 2 6-3 in their favor as well. And I believe day 2 was kind of the where pitching just kind of fell off, and that's what happens whenever you don't have Matty Penta pitching for 2 days in a row. And you, after day 1, if you didn't watch day 1, let's just say that Matty Penta pitched around 130-ish pitches, which, if you don't know softball, that's a lot. That is a lot of pitches. And after that, Shelby Lowe came in, and I just don't think Shelby was like in the right headspace, because immediately it was in the 8th inning when she came in. And it's a really tough spot to come in, and I don't think
In
Shelby,
extras.
yeah, extras, and Shelby just wasn't in the right headspace, and Auburn lost that one. Day 2, bats weren't there for Auburn. Day 3 came out of nowhere. They just were.
Why not?
It's just like, why not? It's the most Auburn thing to happen. Wait till you lose the series, and then all of a sudden the bats start hitting the ball. And we get to see a Bree bomb, which second week in a row we got to see one in a series. And they're starting to become a little bit more common again after a little rough stretch for Miss Bree Ellis.
Well, Dylan, that's also a combination of factors between you had an outstanding freshman year. No one wants to pitch to you. They're trying not to. And also you've got some data on just someone who is just abnormally good at this game. And you're learning how to pitch to someone like that. And you've got more data on pitching around her. We're still not talking enough about the fact that it's not as much as her struggling at the plate. There's nothing broken about her swing as much as it is that people just simply don't want to throw her pitches to hit. And I'll be honest, I would not want to throw her pitches to hit if I'm an opposing pitcher either.
Oh, no,
I also would not want to step in the circle with her swinging. So there's also just that inherently.
Yeah. And it's not just her either that was going through a little rough patch. I mean, the entire team was going through a rough patch last week. But you got to bring up the home runs. Nelia, she can hit just as hard as Bree at sometimes. This whole team can hit. Whether or not they can on any given day is the question.
Sure.
You can see me in my new little softball hat talking softball.
Auburn and Dylan his new Auburn softball drip.
Yeah, a little softball drip that I got for a very, very good deal. But yeah, I mean, overall, Maddie Penta's her.
Oh yeah.
She got a loss on Thursday, but I mean, the game was 3-2. It was a pitching duel through and through.
Maddie Penta is otherworldly good.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it is baffling how no one has figured out how to hit her, because I don't think you can. I was fortunate enough to call Mercer softball versus Georgia Tech on ESPN Plus last week, and actually I'm fortunate enough to be on the hot seat for that going forward, being a hot seat step in. I've just, after watching Maddie Penta pitch, like watching anybody else's just sucks. like inherently, because her control and velocity, being able to combine those things, it's impossible to hit her, and she's not going anywhere. So like, RIP as SEC hitters for the foreseeable future if you're facing Maddie Penta.
I will say, my girlfriend Lauren is currently writing up some kind of proposal to get a Bree Ellis and Maddie Penta statue somewhere around J&B. She's working on that as we speak.
There might be one or two, specifically one softball player that comes to mind might.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be in line first.
She's a baby in her softball fan stage, so she only knows about Bree Ellis hitting bomb after bomb and Maddie Penta.
Well, I mean, those things are both just inherently true. So
yeah.
Let's talk about. I'm sorry to cut you off, Dill. I was going to keep rolling.
Let's get the whole team. Why not? Just everyone gets a statue.
You know what? Down, super down, for every team. Why not? Let's just rock with it. Just kidding.
Mount Rushmore on each stadium.
That's awesome. Actually, that'd be so funny. All right, let's pivot over to the other side of the Diamond Sports here in Auburn, Alabama. And Auburn, where Butch Thompson and the boys dropped the series 2-1 to the visiting Texas A&M Aggies. Auburn's entered the danger zone. This pitching rotation is just not particularly good. And I was speaking with Jacob Hillman on Friday night, and Hillman, always being kind of brutally honest about things. He brought up a good perspective. this is very reminiscent of that COVID season in 2020, where Auburn just was not incredibly, they just weren't good. But you had young guys that you might recognize some names. I mean, Blake Burkhalter comes to mind. Like Carson Skipper comes to mind. Like the guys that came into their own and became MLB pitchers. And it's a lot of youth. The bats are fine. They're consistently inconsistent pitching. The bats are putting up enough runs every game to win. In large. It's not really the offense as much as it is this pitching rotation is just not healthy. For one, you don't have Jogo. And for two, like you're just young and there's really no clear identity for this pitching rotation. And you just kind of got to get right when you're midweeks and move forward. But unfortunately, they've got to play Georgia Tech on Tuesday. So I don't really know how that shakes out. And we'll have a full breakdown on that on the Tuesday show. But Dylan, your thoughts on where Auburn baseball stands right now? You got to win 10 games to make the 10 SEC games to make the postseason. They've won 4.
Well, going through the rest of the season, you got Bama, South Carolina, who is on a tear right now. Mississippi State, LSU, who number 1 team in the country, at Ole Miss, and Missouri to wrap up the season. I think you can muster 6 more wins out of those. Maybe.
Okay.
Mississippi State's not fairly good.
Mississippi State's kind of figured stuff out, though. That's the problem. That's
the problem. But maybe Jogo is going under some new stuff. Maybe Frank Thomas passed him some Nugenics. Gonna help out with the shoulder. Because right now Auburn is in a, maybe Jogo with the hurt arm maybe could help us out. Because Will Cannon, he did very well up to a certain point on the game he started. And honestly, these pitchers, from what I see, you kind of want your pitcher to go a little bit further in the game, but Auburn's pitchers are a little young and not really seasoned in their arm strength. So they're, we got to start pulling guys in the 3rd, 4th inning.
Let me tell you for a second here. And I'm sorry, I had a little yawn going on. Like I said, this is College Loop After Dark. Poor Drew Nelson. I mean, people aren't talking enough about that poor kid. He's getting thrown in, and I have no other words than the shittiest situations that I've ever seen.
This man's been put in down by 10.
Yeah, I mean it's rough. It's one of those where you get in and you got you're down 4 or 5 runs and you got guys on the corners with 1 out. What the hell am I supposed to do with this? one of those situations. And Drew's not pitched bad. He really hasn't.
No, that's the bad part.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part of it. And the unfortunate part is Chase Alsop's got a little bit of the yips right now. He just doesn't have his stuff. And we know he can have his stuff. And you're waiting for that to roll around, and maybe that's just not in the cards in 2023. I went on record a few weeks ago on this podcast on the College Loop and said I think Auburn baseball may be bad this year. I'd like to I guess modify my statement and say I think that they're just young and you know what, maybe they have some late season magic in them. We've seen it happen before. Never count out a Butch Thompson team. You can't. Because that's right when you count them out is when they sweep back-to-back SEC series and clinch a postseason berth. But it's I think the timing's just not right for Auburn baseball right now. And we will see how that goes. Like I said, we'll have a breakdown on the Georgia Tech midweek that they will have, which is not a cakewalk. They played extra innings with Georgia Tech earlier in the year, and we will see how that shakes out. As we move forward, talking more about Auburn athletics, we'll have a full breakdown on Darion Goborn and her trek to nationals on Tuesday. On the Tuesday show, we'll have Daniel Locke back, and he will give his breakdown on Darion's outlook going toward the end of the season. We also found out this weekend Cassie Stevens with a COVID year, so she's returning for Auburn gymnastics. Very, very exciting news for fans of the orange and blue, especially after the departure of Sunisha Lee. It's going to be imperative that you have some of that veteran leadership returning, and goodness, do we know that Cassie brings that to the table. So very, very excited to have her back on the plains in 2023 to 2024. On top of that, on Tuesday, we'll be talking a little bit about Auburn volleyball. And so that's return, and maybe talk a little bit about soccer, trying to incorporate everything. If there's something you guys want to hear, make sure you drop it in the comments or tweet at us at the College Loop. That being said, Dylan, oh my gosh, I could fall asleep right now holding this mic, standing up. I am exhausted. It has been a day. I woke up this morning at 8 a.m. in Auburn, Alabama. It is 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, and I am in Atlanta, Georgia. And I believe you're in LaGrange.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so we've done the dang thing today, and it's been nothing short of a privilege. My voice is about to completely go out. Thank you guys so much for listening to the College Loop. For our new listeners, welcome to the Loop. We are super, super excited to have you guys. Tell your friends about us. Tell your mom, your dad, your weird next door neighbor that cuts his grass 4 times a week in the summer. We've all got one. We know we all have one. It's true. And thank you guys so much for supporting us on this journey. We're having a ton of fun. Happy Easter to everybody. He is risen. We really appreciate you guys and hope you guys are spending time with your family. Enjoy the Easter egg hunts. I will probably have a chocolate bunny tummy ache later. I'll be a tummy ache survivor this evening. So y'all check in on me as we get closer to returning back to our day-to-day lives on Monday. I'm Harrison Tarr at Harrison Tarr on Twitter. If you want to check out any of my written work, that's at the Auburn Daily, theauburndaily.com. You can check them out across all social media platforms, whether that be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, the whole nine. You can get all of our written content there. Dude, we've got dogs over there, man. We got some dogs at the Auburn Daily. So make sure you check that out. If you want to find out more of my podcasting work, that is on the Auburn Daily Show every Wednesday and Friday. Wednesday with Dylan Larck, Friday with the legendary Lindsey Crosby. If you want to listen to me do some play-by-play call, I'm on the color commentating for Mercer Baseball, this weekend as they take on ETSU on Friday and Saturday. That'll be on ESPN Plus at 7 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday, respectively. So very excited for that. All the rest of my work is right here on the College Loop every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, unless we feel like we need to react to something else. So who really knows how that shakes out? Thank you guys so much. If you're listening on YouTube, like, subscribe, ring the bell. And Dylan, if you can get us out of here before I fall asleep, I will be amazed.
All right. Well, I'm Dylan Larck at your boy the Tank on Twitter. If you're listening, it's at YABOY the Tank. And if you're watching, it's gonna be right below me, right there. And catch me on the Auburn Daily Show every Monday with Lance Daw, and of course Wednesday with the little tired boy over there. And you see him; he's waving. He's looking all happy. Enjoy your Easter. Make sure to find that golden egg because it might have a little bit of money in it.
Dude, the $5 bill.
$5 bill. My parents were cheap. It was $1.
I got a quarter. I got a rock.
But yeah, follow the College Loop. If you want to listen to us, you got Spotify, you got Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. And of course, you can watch us on YouTube as well. Social media, you got us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook, and YouTube Shorts. Car, you guys say something?
Yeah, do we have any of those swag bags left?
We got I think 5.
All right, perfect. Whoever guesses the closest score to the midweek softball game against Troy will get a swag bag.
Sick. But sadly, you cannot DM us on MySpace because we don't have that quite yet.
You can't send us your address on MySpace.
And with all that being said, this has been the College Loop Podcast.